Hi, this is Michael Ogechi Abbey with Enterprise Express Tax Service. I'm giving a longer kind of overview of the child tax credit. There's lots of information that's going around. I just thought it would be necessary to kind of dig a little deeper so that people know the facts and what's actually happening with the new proposed expanded child tax credit. So here we go. Um, Currently, the child tax credit remains at $2,000 per child for families who qualify. Now, out of that $2,000, 1,600 of that money is refundable. Okay, 1,600 of that is refundable. So what that means is that whether you owe taxes or whether you don't owe taxes, you still get 1,600 of that money back as a refundable credit. Now, let's do a quick overview of what the child tax credit is. It's a tax break for families, um, and they can receive this tax break if they have qualifying children. Now, let's look at what the IRS deems as a qualifying child or a qualifying person. Uh, the IRS says, and I'm reading this verbatim because I think it's best to get exactly what the IRS says instead of what a lot of other people are saying. Um, you can claim the child tax credit for each qualifying child who has a social security number that is valid for employment in the United States. So once again, let's go over that again. You can claim the child tax credit for each qualifying child who has a social security number that's valid for employment in the United States. To be a qualifying child for the 2023 tax year, your dependent generally must be one, under age 17 at the end of the calendar year. Under age 17 at the end of the calendar year. Two, must be your son, your daughter, your stepchild, your eligible foster child, your brother, your sister, your stepbrother, your stepsister, your half brother, your half sister, or a descendant of one of these. For example, a grandchild, a niece, or a nephew. So the IRS is they give a pretty detailed explanation of who exactly qualifies for the child tax credit here. Number three, the qualifying child person uh, must provide no more than half of their own financial support during the year. Again, the qualifying person must provide no more than half of their own financial support during the year. Um, the qualifying person must have lived with you for more than half the year, so well over 6 months. The qualifying person, again, must be properly claimed as a dependent on your tax return. Next, um, the qualifying person must not file a joint return with their spouse for the tax year or file it only to claim a refund of withheld income tax or estimated tax paid. Okay. And then finally, the qualifying person must have been a U.S. citizen, a U.S. national, or a U.S. resident alien. So, in other words, if the person has a green card, that's fine. If they're a U.S. qualifying U.S. national, that's okay. Obviously, if they're a U.S. citizen, that's okay as well. So I went through this. This is direct from the IRS website, and I wanted to do that because I felt that that's the best way to get the correct information. Now, let's circle back again to what's going on with the expanded child tax credit. Again, um, there has been the House has passed the bill on January 31st. Okay, so that was approved. There was a bipartisan vote. It's now been forwarded to the Senate for final approval. There are some, political things going on, so we're not quite sure of the timing of the Senate approval. I personally think it will pass, but I just think the timings, whilst they work out their differences, and there may be some changes along the way as well. Let's look at a couple of other things now. Um, The reason why we're at this juncture now was there was a push to overhaul the child tax credit. Um, rather, there has been a push to overhaul it. If you guys remember, during COVID, we did get an expanded child tax credit. At that time, the credit was increased to 3,600 per child, but that was a temporary measure. Okay, and what I did notice that at that time when I was doing taxes for my clients, many families were getting a lot more back because of the expanded child tax credit increase from 2,000 to 3,600 per child. But that has expired. So actually, last year people had a reduced child tax credit because it came back down to 2,000. I had a lot of people ask me, "Well, what happened?" And I had to explain exactly what I am explaining now. Now, um, what some activists are saying is that that expanded child tax credit did help a lot of families who really needed to be lifted up above the poverty line. So that's the argument. That's why you're seeing this push for an expanded child tax credit. Um, is it going to be similar to the 3,600 that was approved during the pandemic? I'm not sure about that. The details are still a bit complicated. But here's what we here's what we do know. Here's what we do know. So um, I'm going through my notes here. All right. So under the proposed bill, the new bill, the maximum refundable amount per child would rise to 1,800. Okay. Maximum refundable amount per child would rise to $1,800 in 2023, and then in 2024 it would go up to 1,900, and then in 2025 the maximum refundable amount would go up to $2,000. Remember that the maximum refundable amount as of now, all right, is 1,600. The maximum refundable amount is 1,600. And so the proposed changes to the current $2,000 child tax credit would cover 3 tax years, meaning 2023, 2024, and 2025. What that means is that you can claim the expanded child tax credit this season when you file your 2023 tax returns. Here's a few things I'd like to kind of point out, and this is where the new bill is going to try to make some changes, which I think is going to be good. Okay. Um, right now, there's an income limit um, for some poor, what we would say are poor families. The current child tax credit does not provide any credit for families' first $2,500 of income. Okay, and so this current bill would actually change that, whereby that would not be the case. Also, the child tax credit has it requires a parent to have at least $2,500 in annual income. What that means is that a family with little or no income may not qualify for the child tax credit under the current rules. However, with the new proposed changes, taxpayers could use their income from either the current or the prior year in calculating the child tax credit. And this is going to be helpful, especially, for instance, if their income drops and they're no longer able to qualify for the tax credit. Okay, and if this plan is accepted or passes the Senate, this would go into effect with the 2024 tax year. And so, there's one more thing. There are income limits to qualifying for the child tax credit. You qualify for the full amount of the 2023 child tax credit for each qualifying child if you meet all the eligibility factors and your annual income is not more than $200,000 if you're filing as a single person. If you're filing a joint return, then the income limit rises to 400,000. So the child tax credit is pretty much available to honestly most people within a median income. I'm sorry, income range. Now, if you happen to earn more than the stipulated amounts, okay, the band here is 200,000 if you're filing single or 400,000 if you're filing joint, then it starts to phase out incrementally. So it doesn't mean that you won't get anything. It means that you may get a partial refund. Okay, and so this is where we're at with the child tax credit. I hope this has explained a little bit of what's going on and what to expect with the child tax credit this year. We don't know yet what's going to happen. For instance, if the Senate passes the bill and we're well into the tax filing season now, and some people have already filed their tax returns, we're not quite sure how the additional monies, if it passes, would get back. I'm assuming maybe most people would either receive possibly a check or they would just get another direct deposit. So we're still, who knows how that's going to work out, but we'll leave that to the IRS and the government. But this is where we are now, and I hope this has enlightened and explained a number of things. Okay, so once again, my name is Michael Ogechi with Enterprise Express Tax Service. We do taxes nationwide. You don't have to come into our offices. Give us a call, and we'll do a free, quick review with you. And hopefully, you will entrust us with your taxes this year and in the future. Thanks again. Bye.